The Hellyer River diggings are nestled along the banks of a remote river in North Western Tasmania. This important chapter in Tasmania's rise out of a depression into mineral wealth has been lost to time. 150 years ago, the hut sites, tracks and work sites of these courageous pioneers were prominent features in this newly explored wilderness. But as the Wild West was gradually opened up, newer tracks and larger discoveries soon cut off the diggings from the outside world. Within a matter of years, the richest claims were worked to their potential, then soon abandoned, and the once important network of tracks leading into the area became overgrown. This, along with geographical name changes, has resulted in the locations of this treasure trove of history remaining a mystery for over 100 years, and its story has survived only as a collection of ancient newspaper articles, until now. Earlier this year, I rediscovered the hut site of Kay's diggings, utilising a newspaper article from 1872. The article was written by a local settler, Mr. Thomas Ragg, who also carved a depiction of the workings he witnessed on a small island in the middle of the stream. Mr. Ragg was a woodcarver by trade, during a time when photographic reproductions were created from woodcuts, and this technique was the first use of its kind in the island of Tasmania. Kay's diggings, also known as the Prospector's Claim, was formed by two sets of brothers from Circular Head, the Kays and the Harveys. They were the first men to strike payable gold on the west side of the island, on an unexplored section of the Hellyer River. News of the discovery raised excitement in town, with local newspapers reporting, "Gold, gold, gold. The magic word is in everybody's mouth. Our circular Headites, after a long and dreary slumber in the recesses of apathy and despondency, have suddenly awakened. Young and old, wise and foolish, rich and poor, have alike become enthusiasts, and hope, long banished, has once more shown her bright, smiling face in our midst, and stimulated the energy of all. And if combined action and earnest thoughtful work can achieve success, we may now with some show of reason adopt our favourite motto, On Stanley, on." Now that I have verified the location of Kay's diggings, I'm able to use this as a locked point on the river, and by following the descriptions left of the pioneers, I'm able to follow in their footsteps to the surrounding camps, of which there are at least 7. To do this, I've studied the area using the latest technology LIDAR imagery. Now, all that's left to do is to go out into the field and see what relics we can find whilst retracing the steps of our early pioneers. So these roads that I'm on are forestry roads, and they're out of operation at the moment, so they're not really maintained. I'm not 100% sure on how close I'm going to be able to get to the site of Lee Hung, which is where today's journey is going to begin, the first of many sites that we're going to visit. But I've packed the bike in the back just in case I hit a major road blockage and it's too much for me to chainsaw. It's such a magic day out here. Perfect weather. We're going to be in for a ripper adventure today. Stay tuned for this. Well, I was worried it might happen. It wasn't just a tree that's fallen down. I mean, I could clean that up, I've got the chainsaw, but you can see that massive build up of dirt. This road from here onwards has been closed probably for, who knows, 20 or so years. So the bridge must have washed out ages ago, and there's no getting over it in the car anyway. So luckily I've got the bike, and I'll have to do a few Ks on the bike before we get to site number 1. It's going to be a pretty massive trip though. I mean, for a day trip, I've got to do a pack raft. I've got a big hike from site 1 to 2, pack raft down to site 3, and then if we've got time, I've got something I've been saving, which was way downstream. I found a track that led to a wire crossing over to the other side, across the river from Kay's diggings. So I really want to get down there and see what's on the other side, because I'm pretty sure there's a heap of workings and there was more hut sites over there. But we'll take it one step at a time today. For now, we'll get the bike out and throw the gear in and get started. So I'm going to take with me the metal detector. I'm going to put the pack raft in. Okay, so we've made it to the Hellyer River. Just out there it is. It was a bit more of a mission getting in here than I thought, but we managed to make pretty good time with the bike. Just gonna have to factor that in to get back to the car later on today, but let's go and try to find what I believe to be Lee Hung's old campsite.
Lee Hung was the leader of a large prospecting party made up of Chinamen. Continuing on the newspaper article from Thomas Ragg, which previously led me to Kay's diggings, we follow in his description left for clues to this site. He writes, "I was told that a party of 7 Chinese had washed on Monday 1.5 ounces of gold, and I see no reason for doubting the fact. I went up the high hill we brought the horses down, and down over a spur on the other side, steeper still, where they had to cut steps to get up and down. At the bottom of this there was a party of Chinamen, with their hut, forge, and so forth, complete, busy making cradles. These, I believe, were the party who had got the 1.5 ounces the day before, but I couldn't get them to say much, and I couldn't very well understand what they did say. This is above where the river forks, and is called the North Hellyer. Now, of course, we no longer have a North or South Hellyer. We just have the Hellyer and the Arthur. The Arthur was named by Henry Hellyer when he crossed it in 1827. And at the time of the gold rush in the 1870s, the Arthur River was believed to be further west still, deeper in the wilderness, and that's partly due to the fact that Henry Hellyer had described certain features as being a lot more big and grand than they actually were in reality.
So I've kind of traversed across the plain, the flat, and I haven't bumped into anything yet. This is going to take a fair bit of skill, I think, to locate anything in this camp. As you can see, it's very overgrown now. So I've just found this. Might not look like much, but that's a dent and it's compact. I would say that that is not from animals, but from humans. If that's the case, that's where the track comes down from the steep hill on the other side of this creek. Look at this. See, that's been cut out. Somewhere on the other side here is the track. That might be it there. So the cut stumps in the creek was just down there. I think this here is a track. It goes up there. So why is it important to find the track? You're probably asking. Well, I'm just trying to verify that I'm looking for the hut site in the right location. Because if I find the track, I just have to find where the track leads. See this here? This all tells me that it was a very rough track that led down this spur. We'll have a little bit more of a look up here. Yeah, for sure. It's got to be it. Okay, I've come quite a way up the ridge and you can see it connects up here with a cutout. So it sweeps around and connects to the old track there, which is the same one that is linked up to the one that led me into Kay's diggings. So for sure this is the right ridge, for sure this is the right track. For site one, it's just a matter of getting down there and trying to look through all of that horizontal and stuff to see. Look at the size of those. They are monster eucalypt. Yeah, to see what we can find from the old campsite. I mean, it's messy, it's just horizontal and stuff. You can see the Chinese didn't really get the pick of the bunch when it came to the claims, but they did very well on the gold, so that makes up for it. Okay, now that we've got the way that Thomas Ragg came in lined up, we'll go back down to the creek, cross over where that cut log is, and see if we can pick up anything. Well, look at that. That tree there, that looks like it might have been felled. That could have been one of the ones that they used to cross the river, because there was a rapid underneath the tree. That there's been felled and it's right on the riverbank where it needs to be to cross the other side. Now this here is pretty interesting. That looks like a board or something. It's been sawn. Maybe this was the hut site of Li Hung. I feel like that's from something. Might be worth detecting this spot here, I think. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Now we're getting on the money. What? Why did they dig there? That's bizarre. If this was the hut site and they dug that little shaft very close to their hut, then there's going to be a heap of relics sitting around somewhere, I think. This had to be it. If that's not a sign, if that tree being there, crossing from the Chinamen's camp to the other side is not a sign, I don't know. It'd be great to find something to verify it. We found the shaft. It's not quite enough for me. It's got to be. This has to be it. I can't imagine a better spot. Oh, hang on. That is not a bad relic to find. That's an old bottle. This is Li Hung's camp. Perfectly situated on the river's bend. Flat. Ample space for several tents and a hut. Then the big question is, where exactly was the hut?
A separate newspaper article published in the same year gives us more information about this party of Chinese men, referred to only as a Launceston gentleman, writes, "After a walk of 7 hours we arrived at our destination for that night, the hut of Li Hung, the leader of a party of Chinamen on the North Hellyer. There were several tents around his hut occupied by his countrymen, about 10 in number, who all seemed remarkably comfortable and industrious." He then goes on to say, "The next day I went over to the South Hellyer, to get to which I had to cross a high and very steep hill, a laborious undertaking, which is anything but easy work. After walking 1.5 miles, I arrived at Wah Sing's claim, where I again found 13 Chinese who were also making preparation for getting to work.
Got a target. Don't kill me for this, I still haven't got a pinpointer. So these guys had a blacksmith here, a little forge that they built. Imagine if this was a Chinese coin. Well, that right there is a tube, basically of toothpaste, but that's made of metal. I think I might be onto it here. Just quietly, I think that this was definitely Li Hung's camp. I'll see what else I can find. Okay, I've got another one just about 3 meters from where that one was. Say a non-ferrous again. That there is a shotgun bullet. All right, well I think this spot's verified. I'm happy. Took a little bit to find it, but this spot's definitely the one. And from here on out, we should be able to follow in the footsteps of Thomas Ragg.
To complement the Launceston gentleman's report, we dive back into Thomas Ragg's experience, as upon leaving the Chinese camp, he wrote, "Crossing the river on a tree, over which the rapid was breaking, we were in for another perpendicular climb up steps in the side of a bank, steeper than ever, an immense height, far above the tops of the tallest trees on the bank, and proceeding about 2 miles over a barren, scrubby ridge, and then down a similar precipice, got to the South Hellyer, where several claims are occupied."
Damn, that was steep as coming up there. If my calculations are correct though, this spine that I'm about to get on top of is where the track used to lead to the South Hellyer workings. Oh yeah, look at that. I swear, like, some of these tracks that you find are just as good as they were back in the day. Whew. Doesn't mean it's not going to be steep. Check it out though. Yeah. So we've come out to a forestry road. Now they haven't been in here for a couple of years. As you can tell, it's in a bit of disrepair. But they did do some logging in here a couple of years ago. And it basically follows the line that I believe Thomas Ragg walked to get to the other Chinaman's camp, which was Wah Sing. And that was where they had the homestead with like a veggie patch and everything. I'm really excited for that site. I think that's going to be a really cool one because it's a decent sized flat on, once again, the corner of the river, and I reckon it should be pretty magic, providing it's not too overgrown. Anyway, I'm going to go up here for a little bit and then turn into the forestry coupe. It's going to be a bit ugly up that way, but once we get past that, then we're going to be following once again what I believe to be the track that Thomas Ragg walked directly down the spur to the Chinese camp. Somewhere down there. It's looking pretty clear. That's a real bonus. If we can find the site of the homestead with the veggie garden, I'm going to be so stoked. I've been researching this place for so long, and I kind of only did Lee Hung's place just as a continuation from Thomas Ragg's visit to the prospector's hut, but really I've wanted to find the homestead and the veggie garden.
Continuing on from the description of Thomas Ragg, he writes, "There were parties of Chinese here also, one of which I noticed had made quite a little homestead, garden and all, down close to the bed of the river. One cannot help admire the natty completeness of the Chinese arrangements. They have all their little forges, burn their own charcoal, make their own cradles and sluices, very neatly too, out of timber sawn by themselves, and they have all the appearance of intending to make a long stay."
So we're in the zone. We're now in the zone. This is the flat of what I believe to be Hua Sing's residence. It's a matter of seeing what we can find here.
The Launceston gentleman records his time here. "After walking 1.5 miles, I arrived at Hua Sing's claim, where I again found about 13 Chinese who were also making preparation for getting to work as soon as possible by felling trees into the river to turn the water off their claim, and if they succeed, I see no reason why Europeans shouldn't follow their example. I was here very much pleased with the great amount of work they had got through since arriving at the diggings. They had even made a small garden in which vegetables were growing most luxuriously.
Plenty of potential sites. Nothing, no evidence yet. As if this wouldn't have made an awesome veggie patch. Said it was down close to the water. The soil's not too bad. It's a little sandy, but it's also got, by the look of it, basalt in it, which is nice, rich volcanic soil. Perfect area for a veggie patch, actually. They would have cleared it, obviously, so a lot of sun got in here, but honestly, I don't think there's a better spot for a veggie patch. And this is rare. Like, a spot like this is rare on these type of rivers. This is kind of like a beach, but it's not really that sandy. They said it was down by the water, so it could be it there, the water right here. If that's the case, pretty much onto it in this zone. Yeah, it's tricky, you know, because once the Chinese left here, they could have taken everything with them, you know? Like even tent pegs, everything. Every little bit of trash I reckon they took. So really, the time to have seen this would have been 1874, 1875. And even then, there's a chance that it would have just been the sites of stuff. Like, it would have just looked like someone had camped there for a long amount of time in the past. You know? That's a potential. Could be chasing an absolute ghost down here. Was this the spot of Wah Sing's homestead? Who bloody knows? If it was, they were very clean. They didn't leave any trash. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful spot. This is one of the rare spots on the river that is kind of north facing. And it's a flat too, so obviously it was a good spot for growing vegetables. And then looking at this beautiful soil, I don't know, I feel like this was their camp. I just think they were too damn neat to leave anything behind. So what we're going to do is we'll pump the packraft up and we'll head downstream to the junction of the Arthur and the Hellyer. And I've got 2 more sites I want to check out. So I reckon every time I go to use the pack raft in a video, I get about 10 comments from people saying, what type of raft is that? Where can I get one? This is an alpaca raft. They're a very high quality raft. This one is called a mule, so it's got the self-bailing holes underneath. But they make a wide range of rafts for all needs. If you want to buy one or just even browse, go to packraftaustralia.com.au and that's where you'll find them. So I'm here at the junction of the Hellyer and the Arthur. Now, there was a claim up here. Go see if we can find it. I know there's a bit of flat land because I found it on LEADER. I'll just leave the raft there and we'll go up for a quick look.
The claim was known as the British Lion. A newspaper article from December 1872 makes note of it. Another claim above the prospectors and at the junction of the North and South Hellyer, known as the British Lion, has not come up to expectations, and has of course been vacated by some of the shareholders who say there is gold, good coarse gold, but not payable. 22 pennyweights is all this claim yielded during 3 weeks for 3 men.
So I left the detector down at the boat, but I reckon if I've got time on the way back up to the bike later tonight, I might pull in here for a swing. This is good ground in here. Yeah, it's real good ground. And this is for sure where it was. It's just perfect. Look how high up out of the water it is. There's only one spot on the junction of the Arthur and Hellyer that is like flat with LEADER, and that's this. Anyway, let's go down and cross over this wire crossing. That should be fun. So I've been paddling for a little while now and we're almost there. I think what I'll do first though is I'll show you guys the track that led to the wire bridge and then we'll cross over and explore the other side together. Okay, so the vegetation on that side's nowhere near as good as this side. That's something I've just noticed. So this here's the track that I found a while back. You can see the cutout here on the side. And this goes to the track to Kay's diggings. So that's how I came upon it. So you can kind of make it out, the little cutout, and then this is the track here. And it leads pretty neatly to just a random spot in the river. You can see still following it. But we're gradually going down closer to the water. Now it wasn't until I found a map that showed a wire crossing going straight across here that I thought, oh, well, that's exactly what was there. And it kind of peters out here. You see there's nothing really track-like, whereas up there it's more evident. So I did search around here. I couldn't find any wire or anything like that, but I always left it for a later date because I thought it'd be super fun to explore on the other side when the water level was down, which is now.
A separate newspaper article 1 year after Kay's discovery, in February 1873, shows the rate of progression on the various workings. The first claim reached by us was that known as the Southern Cross, work by West's party, of which there are 4. It is situated on the south side of the river, in one of those small gullies or blind creeks leading into the river. Later on, Kay's extended diggings were visited, and the author writes, "This party, of which there are 3, and whose claim lies in a gulch or ravine a little further inland from the river than the previous mentioned claim, has up to the present time paid at the rate of £3 or £4 per week per man."
Okay. Let's go and see what we can find here then. So the workings were reported to be about 50 to 70 feet from memory above the river. So I'll have a climb up.
This was according to an 1895 report on the mineral fields by Secretary of Mines Alexander Montgomery. Kay's diggings are on the south side of the Arthur, which is crossed by a cage and wire rope. Here there is a lot of alluvial gravel of very varying depth, from 50 to 70 feet above the river level, and about 550 feet above the sea.
I think I found something. Got a shaft there, or an adit. So the roof's caved in a bit, leading to this big mound, but you can see that it was slightly timbered there. It's definitely quite interesting. You can see the alluvial material that it's made of. They must have been getting a little bit of gold out of it, just enough to keep them hungry. Look at that, a little tunnel right there. Wow, I didn't even spot that when I first came in here. That's crazy. Whoa. How cool is that? So it's exactly like Montgomery said, that there's a lot of old gravels up here and they must have been worth working. There's another one right there. I've marked a potential hut site on my maps that I did before I left, so I'll make my way to that area. It must be quite flat. Must be up there that I've marked. Well, I don't know about a hut site, but damn, they did some work here. That's crazy. You can see all these big stones here. This is all part of the mullock heap that's come out of here. Massive workings. So they were in here cutting it out of this big, it's basically an open mine. And then they must have been taking it to the edge here. And I remember reading somewhere that they had chutes to send it down because it was that steep, all the way down to the river where they were able to process it with the water. Yeah, these mullock heaps are pretty impressive. There's some massive stones in here. Big, round alluvial stones. Wow. Look how deep that is. They must have found like a pretty decent deposit for them to dig this much earth out and process it. There had to be gold all through it. Maybe this is the gulch. Look at that. They've dug from all the way up there down to here. And then they sunk what looks like a shaft here. That's mad. So much work. This was a lot more than what I was expecting on this side. Yeah, this is it. This is Kay's other diggings that Montgomery passed by back in 1895 when he did the report as the Secretary of Mines. And even back then, in 1895, this was deserted except for the odd fossicker. The field was just done. So that there goes down into a creek. I did read about another claim down there. I've covered some caves today. This all seems to be alluvial material from Kay's Gulch way up there. See the side of the wall here? It looks like that's been cut out to make this chute. So much of the story of the Hellyer River diggings will always remain a mystery. We may never know what caused Li Hung to fire off that shotgun round, or what the Kay brothers' final words were on the last shovelful of material into the gold dish. But I still enjoy following these old articles, and by some vain effort bringing to life the pieces of the puzzle left behind by those who came before us. And if I'm being perfectly honest, if it weren't for the mystery and the uncertainty of what might remain at these lost sites, I probably wouldn't be so inclined to seek them. So here's to the unknown, for may we always venture into curiosity and respect to those who paved the way for this great country that we call home.